This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd, reminding you that we and the show you are listening to are proud members of the Self-Defense Radio Network.
Find out more and check out all of the other great shows and content at selfdefenseradio.net.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, a man for whom getting stuck in traffic was the only thing worse than sticking around for day one of nationals, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear, where we counter the media's negative image of gun culture by introducing you to the amazing men and women who are involved in IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. We're focusing on people, not politics. The everyday people from all walks of life, men and women who volunteer their time and effort, who spend their hard-earned dollars on travel, match fees, and gear to make this sport great. They're your doctors. They clean your teeth. They're fixing your houses, taking care of your pets. They fix your computers and pilot your planes, and they protect our streets and our nation. They are gun culture at its finest, and it's misunderstood or completely unknown to the mainstream media. Today, I'm going to introduce you to another one of these awesome people. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor. I'm really excited and honored to be able to say that today's show is brought to you by the Blue Bullets. Why am I so excited? Well, for one, the Blue Bullets make cost-effective, quality bullets specifically designed for competitive shooters. Two, they're big supporters of the shooting sports because they're competitive shooters themselves. And three, because I'm a customer and I believe in their products. Using their own polymer-based liquid coating that they mix in-house, Blue Bullets are designed to prevent barrel leading, to reduce smoke, and yet they're priced comparably to other uncoated lead bullets. And unlike uncoated lead bullets, the Blue Bullets are Glock safe. How did they do that? They did that by spending 6 years developing a coating and a process that ensures consistency and quality. I can tell you from my own experience that while I usually don't perform very well at matches, the Blue Bullets never let me down. Visit thebluebullets.com today. Tell them you heard about it on Unload and Show Clear by using this promo code BBUSC at checkout, and you will save 5% off of your order. The Blue Bullets, family owned and operated by competitors who know what you want in competition bullets. Check them out at thebluebullets.com. Our special guest today is the creator of the Pacifiers and Peacemakers blog, the author of Women's Handgun and Self-Defense Fundamentals, and an associate editor for Concealed Carry Magazine. She is a range safety officer and a certified instructor. She represents her home state of Alabama as a member of the DC Project, and she shoots IDPA. Beth Alcazar, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really thrilled to be able to chat tonight.
Well, I've been looking forward to talking to you, and I was thinking I would get you on the other podcast, and I knew you shot IDPA, and somebody said, if you need somebody from Alabama, get Beth on the show. So I was...
All right.
Yeah, so you have recommendations from the fans.
Oh, I love it. I love to hear that. Better than, crazy stories, snide remarks, jokes.
Right, exactly. So are you originally from Alabama?
Not exactly. I was actually born in Iowa, land of corn and swine, and we moved around a little bit and just kind of ended up in the heart of Dixie. But I call Alabama home because I've practically lived here my entire life. So close enough.
Close enough. Okay. You've been involved in firearms and the firearms industry for going on 20 years now,
That's
I think.
Right. Yeah.
How does a girl with a degree in language arts and education get involved in guns for a living?
This is a loaded question. And yes, that's meant to be a pun. But yeah, okay. About 20 so years ago, I kind of had this career change type thing going on. I wasn't quite happy with the field of education. I was teaching and had been teaching for a while and was looking to get my master's, doctorate, and kind of continue that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, I felt very trapped by the job, by the profession. It was getting worse and worse as far as not being able to kind of be myself and teach like I thought I could teach and really work with the different learning styles and intelligences. It was very much like, here is your lesson plan and the test and the word for word diagram, dialogue, the whole works. So I was like, So I actually decided to, I guess, being a glutton for punishment and in the world of school, I got a second master's degree in communication management, thinking, well, I can pursue something in marketing or public relations or, something along those lines. But by happy accident, I ended up working with a gentleman that was in the shooting, hunting, outdoor industry. So it wasn't the industry itself that drew me. It was the potential to really learn the ropes of all of those things behind the scenes, including the editing, including the writing. That had been something I wanted to do and continue to do as a freelance writer that whole time period anyway. But I kind of became enamored with the industry, with what I was learning. I got to go to a lot of those writer events and play with the guns and found out I was pretty darn good with it. I was a really decent shot for not knowing really much about firearms. I didn't grow up with guns in the home. No one was against it. We just didn't have it.
Didn't have them.
Yeah. So it was kind of, I don't know, just I was inundated with all this information and had a good time with it. Learned a lot of great details about hard work that people were doing as far as, standing up for our rights as Americans and as far as, doing cool things with conservation. And it was just a really great group of people. It's not what the media portrayed at all.
Right.
And I stuck with it, I guess, honestly. And when the chance came about, I kind of pursued and created my own job with the USCCA because I really loved their commitment to training and education, which, well, obviously was something I knew really well.
Right. Okay. So which came first, the blog or the USCCA?
The blog technically came first. I had Kevin Michalowski was someone I'd known for that 20-year period and worked with a long time in the industry. And of course, he had moved on to become the executive editor of Concealed Carry Magazine. And I reached out to him and said, hey, we've talked before about me maybe contributing something. Honestly, I never felt like I had anything to say. I'm just a mom with a gun. I mean, honestly, who cares, right? But that became such a unique focus that wasn't necessarily being looked at or paid attention to. So it started kind of with one article. And that's really, honestly, all I thought it was going to be, just this one article. But I had such a good time. It was cathartic. It was inspiring. It felt really good to share. So I said, would y'all be interested at all in, I don't know, a blog that kind of focused on women and guns and just average moms like me? And that's kind of where it all began. And here we are almost 400 articles later. And that opened the door to many other things with the USCCA. So I'm super grateful that I actually pursued that and wasn't too shy to ask.
So, and now you're certified as an instructor with the NRA, with ICE training, with Sig Sauer Academy, with USCCA. What was the motivation to start to take up all that training and to become an instructor yourself? Did all that happen did it happen sort of naturally as you're going through, or did you do that first? Or what was the progression there from, okay, I'm an educator that's kind of disillusioned with public education, to going, before people and teaching them how to shoot?
It seems like a disconnect there for sure. But I did technically just leave the traditional classroom for the shooting range, and I haven't looked back since. It's been fantastic. But again, it was kind of just the thought processes in my mind, thinking about my experiences, my education, my background, things I like to do, things I felt I was pretty decent at doing,
right?
And thinking about possible ways to somehow make those combine and connect. So as I was getting more and more involved with writing, I was learning how much I didn't know.
Right.
And that frustrated me. So I thought, well, I'm going to take some classes. But then that wasn't enough. I thought, maybe I can take some instructor courses and I can start to learn this material in a different way. Because, they say the way to truly learn something is to be able to teach it, right? As backwards as that might sound to some people, there's a lot of truth in it. And since my background and my passion was definitely that presentation side and the light bulb moments of the teaching arena, I thought, well, I'm just going to pursue this and see what happens. I was very, very intimidated. I felt super out of place. But the more I learned, the more I wanted to know. And I just kept going and going. And I'm still continuing to look for opportunities to learn and grow in that area, because it's so awesome now to take the firearms industry and look at it through the lens of education and teaching and all the methodologies that really work so that people can truly learn.
Right.
So it's such a fascinating journey and something I'm super proud to do. And I'm honored, especially to work closely with USCCA's training team. But I'm also just so excited that I've had opportunities even to work with Draw School. I was the first female non-law enforcement person to go through and qualify for their instructor program. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Again, just a mom with a gun.
Right. So is this where you saw yourself headed when, 20 years down the road when you got out of college?
Oh, not at all. Not even in the slightest. I mean, especially here in the South. I mean, one of the pickup lines that guys would use are, "Hey, you want to see my gun?"
Oh, no.
So I don't think that was very appealing to me for the longest time. And certainly would never have imagined that I would be given the opportunities that I have now, not just in teaching and sharing and still seeing those light bulb moments, but being able to combine it with firearms. I mean, wow, it's not only a fun sport that you can share with friends and family and just meet new friends. It's a potentially life-saving skill, and that's an honor to be part of that.
Absolutely. So where did your interest in competitive shooting come from?
I think, again, especially at the point where I started to get more involved with things to write about. And if I'm going to have a blog, what am I going to talk about? I'm just so boring. I can't talk about the same things all the time. I thought, I know, I'll start shooting competitively, which is very, very crazy, but I think somewhat brave. So I'm giving myself a little pat on the back.
Absolutely.
I knew nothing about IDPA. Literally, I drug my husband with me too. I'm like, hey, you are shooting this with me. You are coming with me. And this is the funniest part. How we can get so into the gear and the guns and all the upgrades and all the customizations. I literally show up for my first IDPA match with my, I think it was kind of like a chevron pastel Kydex holster.
Oh, okay.
For my XDS. So yeah,
right.
A
little bug gun.
A little bug gun. I don't remember even if I had a belt, and I did not have a quote unquote shoot me first vest, but I did have, I'm sorry, that's just, of course, the running joke, especially where I shoot, because there's a lot of really awesome people, but they've got some crazy vests that are like made out of cardboard or something. I don't know.
Oh, right.
But I was just wearing a button-down long sleeve shirt. That was my cover. So this very flimsy plaid, like teal plaid shirt. And then, I've got this pastel chevron holster. People must have thought I was like totally in the wrong place. But it was so exhilarating, and it was such a new challenge for me, because all I had really done was gone to the range and done the static shooting that all of us get locked into.
Right.
And this was eye-opening for me. I mean, I was crawling around on the ground, shooting from prone, shooting around vehicles. I mean, to go from a static target that's like 10 yards away, maybe at the furthest distance to that.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, we're talking about, I don't care if people say that competitive shooting can't help your training or your skills. Yes, it absolutely can, because it opened my eyes to the possibilities, and it ingrained the safety rules in me so much that I'm now the RSO Nazi. So
Oh man.
add that to grammar Nazi, and you've really got a deadly combination there.
Yep. What did your husband think of all this?
Oh my gosh. He was so excited to do this because he's very athletic. He's really good at all that kind of stuff, and always been very good at shooting, and was always trying to maybe come up with excuses so that we could go to the range and practice more.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, an excuse to buy cool guns and gear.
Right.
So me dragging him out to, quote unquote, dragging him out to the IDPA match was probably one of the best moments of his life. Like, yes, this is amazing.
Finally.
And he has totally hit his stride with competition shooting. He is amazing, and he is just constantly winning in his division. And I'm just like slowly, plucking along, just, doing the best I can. I've definitely improved, but I am not up there. That's for sure.
Well, you're what did I see? You are a sharpshooter in SSP and bug.
Yeah, that's right.
So you actually get out and compete with your carry gear.
Oh yeah. I mean, I did the 2018 IDPA National Championships here in my hometown practically. It's
Right.
down the road from us. And I shot my bug. I mean, I shot my concealed carry gun. I mean, I worked for the USCCA, and I kind of thought it would make sense to kind of compete with what I say I live by, right?
Yep, absolutely.
It was very difficult though, because
I bet.
that was not made for bug guns, obviously. There was a lot of frustration with the reloads and trying to count off, oh my gosh, where
Right.
am I going to reload for this? And how am I going to handle this? And everybody else is like popping along because they've got however many rounds.
Twice as many. Right.
Yeah, that was tough. That was quite a challenge.
I bet. So how long after that first local match that you went out to with your husband, how long after that before you guys decided to take on a sanction match?
Whew, that's a good question. I think we ended up shooting practically every other month for a while as we got more involved. And it might have been almost a year, maybe a little bit more, 15, 16 months afterwards, that we did the first sanction match. So we had sort of a handful of club matches under our belt, and then we just kind of dove in.
So what do you remember? Where was that? And what do you remember of that day?
That was at my home range, Brock's Gap Training Center in Hoover. And I remember being...
Was that the Masters?
Yes,
Okay.
It was. I remember being so scared and so intimidated, and I don't like competition. I never have. And this is a little tangent, but it needs to be shared. And some people have heard this story, but I've played piano since I was a little girl, since I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get really difficult pieces, and I'd have to play all these very, over the top classical thing. I couldn't play fun stuff. I was always playing sonatinas and all this fancy stuff. And we would have to do recitals.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember even some of my very first recitals, everything was fine. I did a great job. And my parents were like, "Oh, that was great. How did it go?" And I'm like, "Well, I couldn't see the keys." And they thought, "Oh
What?
no, yeah, we better get her eyes checked. There's something terribly wrong with her." And my eyes were fine, nothing wrong. And sure enough, it would happen again. I'm like, "I think my cheeks are swelling up over my eyeballs." And of course, this was this was like a 5 or 6 year old's explanation of what was happening. So bear with me on that. But it would continue to happen. And I would literally get through this entire, recital of really difficult pieces, kind of not being able to see what I was doing. Years later, I'm talking about like literally shooting matches really brought this to my attention. I was fantastic in practice. and then I would get to the buzzer going off, and
The mind wiper.
yes, the mind eraser, absolutely. And all of a sudden, there it was again. I felt like limited vision. I can't see. And it immediately brought me back to playing piano and my cheeks swelling up over my eyeballs. Well, obviously, I have figured out that that's not what was happening. It's a very common tunnel vision. So,
Really?
yes. So I have discovered that when I get nervous and I'm, under the buzzer, or it's a competition, or it's, something stressful, I get terrible tunnel vision. And that's exactly what was happening to me in shooting matches as well. So
Interesting.
even as frustrating as that was and humiliating and scary, I decided, and the Masters was definitely one of those moments, I decided that I was going to continue to push myself so that maybe through all this practice and training, I would be able to better manage, maybe not completely overcome, because obviously when that adrenaline dump happens, you
Right.
can't control it. But I was thinking maybe I can recognize it and better manage through these kinds of conditions, and even potentially use it to my
Mhm.
advantage when it does happen. So that oh my gosh, anything that you could do wrong, I did in that match. I mean, it was bad. It was so bad, which is awesome to look at, something like the Nationals just even last year, and kind of compare and contrast. Like, I think I had, and this is so pathetic, but I was so nervous and it was so new to me. I think I had like 350 seconds and penalties and
Oh.
points down. And I mean, it was a huge amount, like ridiculous. But looking back, even I know the Boondocks match, I think I was only 8 points down or something like that for the entire match.
Nice.
I mean, that is a humongous improvement from
Well,
8 to
and-
from 350 something to 8.
Right. And you consider, too, that was one of them. I was excited because I was going to get a chance to squad with you and your husband, and I didn't get to go. But then I saw the videos and the pictures of it, and I
Yeah.
thought, well, maybe I'm not really missing out on a whole lot.
Oh my gosh,
But-
we were basically swimming.
That is a really interesting thing because, you take these firearms courses, and the instructor will always talk about how in a self-defense encounter, the gross motor skills take over because of the blood flow changes and you get the tunnel vision thing. But in a lot of cases, those instructors are talking about it from either very limited experience or no experience with it personally.
Yeah.
You've actually experienced it every time you shoot a match. And
Yep.
going back to when you were a kid and you figured out a way to work through it.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually speak to your students about, I know firsthand how this works and how to overcome it.
Exactly. And I have proof that I've been able to maybe not completely eradicate that, erase it. Like we said, your body's going to do what the body's going to do. It's a natural reaction. You cannot control it, but I can definitely better manage it because I'm expecting it. I know what it looks like and feels like, and it doesn't send me into a panic or into this state of confusion. I can just kind of go, okay, here we go. Let's just push through and keep going. It still does slow me down, but I guess I can't use it as an excuse. I mean,
well, for those people who say that try to suggest that IDPA is just a game and it's nothing like the real thing, you're taking it a step closer to realism.
So much so, and like I said, I've learned so much from competition. Just again with the safety being so at the forefront. I mean, it is always there. It is always part of what I do and how I teach, and almost to the ridiculousness of, every time I pick up the glue gun or the Windex bottle, it's just too much of this finger discipline.
Right. How is your competitive shooting game at this point? What's the biggest thing that you've learned in since you started shooting competitively? What's the biggest thing that you've learned that has helped you improve as a competitive shooter?
Okay, I've got two things and you're gonna love both of these. Here we go.
Oh, goody.
This is great. Okay, the first thing is that I still have people come up to me and say, "You're doing it wrong." I mean, to this day, of course, I'm blonde, I'm bubbly, and I'm a female, so I have three things working against me as the firearms industry, right? I mean, it just automatically puts me in a not to be here category. But still to this day, someone wants to correct my grip, or my thumb isn't in the right place, or you shouldn't close that eye, or whatever the case may be. And honestly, I have found that I am willing to give new methodologies or tactics a try. And I'm willing to put some time and effort and energy into them. But honestly, if it's not working for the way my body works and working through my skills and my struggles, then I kind of am not going to continue to pursue that. So it's one of my instructors said, "Hey, Beth, just shoot like Beth." Because honestly, Beth is a good shooter.
Right.
But when I start getting all these, you should do this and you should do that, and you should be preparing to leave on your non-shooting foot before you get to I'm like, oh gosh, all this strategy is now overwhelming my brain, and now I just can't shoot anymore. Plus, for me, it often takes away the fun of it, and it just makes it that nerve-wracking thing where all I'm thinking about is the tunnel vision I'm trying to fight. So shoot like you can is kind of the moral of that story. It's great to try the new things. It's great to continue to try to improve, but don't forget where you already have your skills, where you already feel confident and comfortable, so that you don't somehow leave that behind or get so frustrated that you just lose that part of yourself, because it can easily happen.
Yep.
Okay, and the second thing, this is so weird, but my husband Sean and I were working with Matt Sims, and he is local to us, but he's also a great competitive shooter, sponsored by Nighthawk. And Sean and I had basically a private class with Matt. So we had him all to ourselves, and we were just trying to soak up all the knowledge and be good little sponges. And we were doing several drills that were kind of focused on really pushing that speed. And my thing is, I'm very much a perfectionist. I'm kind of, very much OCD, and everything for me, I would get chastised even at the nationals. Several of our fellow competitors were like, "Beth, you don't have to shoot through the same hole. We do have more pasters." We don't need to just paste one little spot with one little paster. Open it up a little bit.
Right?
And I realize that, especially as an instructor, I know that what that target is telling me that I can speed up. I realize that, but that perfectionism quality, that no, it has to be this way or else, is just sometimes hard to fight with.
Right.
Well, the other thing I did not realize I was fighting, but Matt Sims asked me an interesting question. He said, "Are you a musician?" Well, you already know the answer to this question. And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I play piano, write music, and blah, 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 sing a little, whatever." I was also a lead singer of an alternative rock band in college. That's a very not well-known fact. So I'm just sharing that here.
Awesome.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah. But I'm thinking, what in the world does any of my music training have to do with this? And Matt said to me, he said, to the effect of, "I think your internal rhythm, or the pattern that you've locked into your brain, is limiting you from being able to go faster." So he said, "I want you to pick a song, and I want you to kind of imagine it in your head, play it in your head, or have it singing, or however you can hear it in your head, to see if we can pick up the pace." Well, I did it, but it just wasn't effective, because all my brain. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you asked. I chose Firestarter by Prodigy, and I don't know why. It's the first song that popped in my head. It makes no sense at all. It didn't work because all my brain did was slow the song down in my head.
Oh, wow.
So that it would match my shooting.
Right.
So this is awesome. Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this, but a couple weeks ago, Sean and I were going to do a steel challenge match and bring my son, who is 9 years old so that he could shoot as well. We're trying to get him involved. So Steel Challenge is awesome for that.
Oh, yeah.
And for practice, I took my Bluetooth headphones and I got a kind of a real upbeat techno song, and I had them playing, and I was floored. I was shooting that steel so fast. So several days later, when we actually did the match, I still had my Bluetooth headphones in, and I very secretly played the song, and I shaved about 20 seconds.
God.
20 seconds off my overall like match time from, just kind of comparing and contrasting to similar matches that we've done. I was absolutely floored.
Wow. I wasn't going to ask you this question, but I think after all the fun that we've had so far, I think there might be a fun answer to this, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Everybody takes the regular stuff to the range, right? They're the eye and ear protection and the holsters and the mag carriers and the extra magazines and all that. But do you have something odd or unusual that you have to have with you in your range bag when you go to the range, to a match? Is there something like that you always throw in the bag and you just have to have it?
There's technically maybe 3 or 4 things that would be kind of a must-have for a class or for training or for a match. And one of them is chapstick, because apparently when I concentrate, I need my tongue to stick out, or I guess I can't concentrate properly. And so I do this when I play video games, and sometimes I do it when I'm writing, and apparently I do it when I'm shooting as well. So I lick my lips and dry them out. So I have to have chapstick. So the second thing, I have to have a Diet Mountain Dew. I have to have caffeine. I just have to have it. It just, I don't know, it works for me. I don't drink coffee. It stunts your growth. So I just go with Diet Mountain Dew. And Dave Savigny told me that his success is partially due to caffeine. So I'm just kind of following along in the experts.
That works.
Yeah, following along in the expert footsteps right there.
I wish coffee would stunt my growth.
The third thing is I am now taking my Ranger Tough Tested Bluetooth earbuds with me everywhere I go, just in case I need to play music.
Right.
And the fourth thing, and this might be the weirdest thing, but gummy frogs.
Oh, okay.
I love gummy frogs. They make me happy. They cheer me up. They're chewy. They're fun. They're distracting. And they're really good for things like tough competition or stress or whatever, because they give you that little boost of energy, and they're just fun. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to find gummy frogs lately. So it's had to be other things like
other gummy stuff,
peaches or gummy cherries or gummy Smurfs on occasion. So, but those are my top 4 weird things right now.
I like it. How can you have a bad match with gummy frogs?
Right? See, there you go. There you go. And my other thing, speaking of a bad match or whatever, I can't have a bad match because you either win or you learn. And the other thing that it's not in my range bag, but it's on my body, I always have some weird socks, because fun socks just make you feel good.
You're in the fun sock club?
I am in the fun sock club. So especially when I'm teaching, there will be some tactical socks going on there. And it might be cute little bunnies on a mountain full of skulls, or it might be, or it might be Maleficent, or it might be the little ghoulish wallpaper pattern from the Haunted Mansion at Disney World. So One of those. I used to work at Disney, so that's definitely a real close to my heart right there. So I guess that maybe is an additional thing that's weird that I have with me.
I like it. I will allow it. That's awesome.
Perfect. I made the cut. Woo!
So as we kind of wrap things up, what is it you like about IDPA? Coming from, you're not as active in it as your husband is, but you've kind of fallen in love with the sport.
Yep.
What is it about that particular shooting sport that you like as opposed to some of the others that you could be just as active in? Why is IDPA special to you?
It's special for one reason, because it was the first competition that I ever got involved with. So there's kind of that nostalgia there. And I've definitely had some of my lowest lows and my highest highs when it comes to IDPA. So I've won some cool stuff like High Lady, and that was like, oh my gosh. And I've also, like I said, had 350 seconds or whatever points down, something crazy. So definitely that's a huge part of it. But beyond that, like I've mentioned, I feel like it's a great training opportunity. I try to treat it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not competitive at all by nature at all. I mean, I'm an introvert. I don't like to be seen. I'm either a wallflower or a wildflower. I can either be the center stage or I'm behind the scenes. So IDPA does put me out of my comfort zone, but that's part of the training. That's part of the learning experience. And it's been extraordinarily valuable, again, especially for solidifying the safety with the gun at all times, making sure that you are consciously aware of that. It has definitely improved that portion of who I am as a trainer, as a shooter, as just a gun owner. And I think, honestly, I kind of like the rules of IDPA, because even though they feel very limiting and sometimes they feel like maybe it's boxing you in, it really makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
It really forces you to have that extra layer of stress and that extra layer of cognitive processing,
Mm-hmm.
that if someone just said, go in and shoot everything, I don't care how many times, I don't care what order, I don't feel like I'd be getting that same mental challenge and exercise. So I kind of like the rules. And of course, honestly, it's the community that I've become involved with at the matches has been extraordinary. So amazing, friendly, warm, just willing to offer tips, tactics, even share gear, ammo. Maybe not at all the sanctioned matches. Maybe they're a little bit more nitpicky, but we've met some of the greatest people. And it's like date night for me and my husband now. It's we've gone on Valentine's Day, we've gone on birthdays, we've shown up at matches for a variety of holidays and taken extra long weekends going to like the sand gnat bug match out towards Savannah every year.
Right.
So it's been a great way for us to be together, to learn together, to grow together, to understand each other's skills, and to better trust one another as well if it ever came down to him having to protect me or me having to protect him. So that's a really cool aspect for us.
Awesome. Well, Beth, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I am so glad I got a chance to talk to you. I've been looking forward to this ever since you agreed to do it. And I really hope I get a chance to see you at a match or another event down the road. Thank you for everything you're doing. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Oh, thank you for what you do as well. And I'm sure we'll see each other one day. Hopefully there will be a match that the paths will cross. It'll be serendipity, and I'll just make sure not to have any technology with me that could potentially screw things up. Like, don't give me the score pad. How about that?
Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for today's show. I want to thank today's guest for coming on and sharing her story with us. She was really generous with her time, and the interview ran a little bit longer than normal. So if you would like to hear the full interview, there's more content. There's more to this interview that you didn't get to hear today because of time constraints. Join us on Patreon, and you'll get access to all of the extra content that you did not hear, plus full-length interviews from previous guests, people like Bob Vogel and Julie Golub. Sign up today for just $1 a month, and you can help support the show and get access to all of those special episodes at unloadpodcast.com/extra. Well, thank you again for listening. Tune in again next time for another episode of Unload and Show Clear.